So for my research brief, I looked at how teacher self-efficacy may or may not have an impact on student achievement. But before we can really dive into that, we have to really define what do we actually mean by self-efficacy. According to Bandura, self-efficacy is the belief that you have control of and can impact a situation, in this case, student achievement. Researchers like Darling Hammond and Jim Knight point to instructional coaching as a way to increase teacher self-efficacy. In other words, school leaders can influence efficacy through job-embedded, ongoing, supported professional development. But even if you do all those things, are you actually going to see an increase in direct student achievement? Well, this is going to be dependent on how do you define student achievement. In studies where researchers define student achievement through national test scores or state test scores or district test scores, course grades and attendance, so those items that are more summative in nature, that measure only the student's progress at the end of a series of an event, most of the research findings showed that there was no significant increase between a teacher's increase in self-efficacy and a student's achievement on those said summative assessments. However, if schools were looking at more qualitative type data and defining student positive outcomes as being connected to school, the student's own self-efficacy, a student's satisfaction within a course, their self-esteem, or even how they measure their grit, those studies found that there was an increase in student achievement when teachers increased their self-efficacy. So it really all depends on how you define the outcomes. There would definitely be a more in-depth need for a study on if teacher self-efficacy can be directly correlated to student achievement, the more quantitative type measures. However, you will find in most studies that there is not one single thing that a teacher can do that will guarantee an increase in quantitative measures. It is always going to be a mix of items, and you won't be able to specifically align where one treatment is going to have the biggest impact. So, what does this actually mean for MOEC? Building self-efficacy means increasing your belief system. This is done through watching others that you're similar to you and do things the way you do them. It also means that you're able to do and learn things yourself and then receive very descriptive feedback. All of these things are exactly what an instructional coach can do. But the reality is that with extremely limited funding in districts, our own district especially feeling that extreme cut, having the funding for a specific instructional coaching model or positions is not always feasible. So what we should be doing is within MOEC, collaborating to provide professional development for teachers. As a team within our city, we can provide different resources to our teachers to help them increase their self-efficacy. I think of models where we have partnered with different ESUs to provide very unique training around the 3 dimensions of science as we transition to the new standards. That was a very collaborative effort. We should be focusing on pedagogy and content knowledge for our teachers, and not only about the student, but what is the best practice within their content area. So again, having the different groups come together in the different disciplines to really devise job-embedded professional development where teachers can connect what they're doing on a daily basis to what their students actually need, you'll see an increase in teacher self-efficacy. MOEC, I would recommend, should establish a work group within the Professional Learning Task Force to investigate different instructional coaching models. There is very different models of instructional coaching, and it all would be dependent on the teacher, which model would be a good fit. Also, it would depend on the capacity of the leaders within your district as to which model makes the most sense for them. Models like Elena Aguilar's transformational coaching is a very in-depth personality and way of thinking changing model of coaching that a building principal may not have the capacity to do that for their entire staff. But other models like Jim Knight's partnership principle approach, where you enter the conversation both wanting to grow and you're asking better questions, would likely be a model that could fit for many different districts. But the Learning Task Force would be able to research and collaborate and find a model that would fit for every different level of leadership within the district, whether they were able to afford instructional learning coaches or if they had to utilize administrators and lead teachers. They should also collaborate to provide professional learning opportunities for leaders to develop skills in building teacher self-efficacy. It's one thing to share with a principal what a coaching model looks like, but if they don't have the opportunity to actively practice better questioning, to ask and observe good teaching and see what it should look like, then they won't be able to coach on it. So it would behoove the MOEC group to come together and provide that type of training so that they can have those deep conversations and leadership can develop their skills as well. Thank you.